Hi, I'm Julie Ackley, and this is a video on the astrological meaning of Thanksgiving. And one thing about all of our holidays is it's really amazing how perfect they are astrologically, and Thanksgiving is a great example of that. It's basically a feast in honor of the planet Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of abundance, expansion, benevolence, good luck, and along with Saturn, he rules our relationship to society as a whole. But Jupiter is all of the truly positive, emotionally fulfilling aspects of that relationship, right? Like the way that society nurtures, cares for us, uplifts us, instills us with beautiful values, helps us find meaning in life. Like Jupiter rules culture, he rules religion, he rules charity, love for mankind, everything like that. Educational institutions like colleges and travel. And so, I mean, yeah, the arts, did I say that? So how do we know that Thanksgiving is a Jupiter holiday? Well, because it takes place on a Thursday every year. Thursday is Jupiter's day, and it takes place the first Thursday in Sagittarius, and that's the sign ruled by Jupiter. So, and it's pretty much, if I was going to give it a rating in terms of its astrological perfection, I would pretty much give it a 9 out of 10, because it's about feasting, right? It's about stuffing yourself. It's about gaining some weight, and those are all things that Jupiter loves. He loves like putting on a few extra pounds. He loves stuffing yourself. He loves feasting without thinking about calories. He loves loosening your belt. He loves getting a little bit tipsy. So it's just great. Like, for example, pumpkins are the official vegetable of Thanksgiving, right? And pumpkins are sacred to Jupiter. Why? Because they're big. Everything that's really big is sacred to Jupiter. And they're also a golden color. Jupiter rules all things with like a golden hue. So you definitely want to like cook pumpkin pies and eat a lot of pumpkins on this day. Turkeys also are sacred to Jupiter. Why? Because they're so big. They're the biggest bird. Like maybe in Australia they eat ostriches on Thanksgiving. But in America they're the biggest bird. They got those big feathers. So that's all sacred to Jupiter. Alcohol is sacred to Jupiter. Especially, I would say red wine is probably his favorite. But really, just getting a little tipsy in general is something he approves of. So if you want to do Thanksgiving right, I would definitely recommend you don't just want to sit around stuffing yourself in your underwear though, because Jupiter, he doesn't approve of that so much. He's kind of a formal, pompous planet. You know what I mean? He's like, sure, he's got like a belly, but he's like the sort of guy who's like wearing like a formal outfit turned sideways, showing off his belly with like a pocket watch, you know what I mean, and a monocle. He's a little bit pompous, a little bit pretentious, because he rules culture. So it's definitely good, I think, to dress up a little for Thanksgiving, set the table in a formal way, have people use their manners. And another thing that I think is a good idea for Thanksgiving to make it truly Jupiterian is have the conversation be something uplifted, right? Like in recent years, Thanksgiving has become a little bit famous for like political arguments. That's not really the best thing. You want to save that for a different holiday, but for Thanksgiving, it's really better to have sort of more pretentious, pompous sounding discussions about like art, culture, travels, mankind, just whatever, about anything. Anytime you use the word mankind, Jupiter's like listening. He loves that. So values and virtues, people you admire, just anything that's a little uplifted, pompous, optimistic, dreams for the future, and definitely feeling thankful. That's Jupiter. He does rule thankfulness. So discussing your blessings is definitely very lucky in terms of Jupiter. And the origin story of Thanksgiving is also perfect, right? Because you have these pilgrims who aren't doing so well, and then you have these Indians who come in and they give them corn and pumpkins and throw a feast for them, and they teach them secrets, right, to help them survive. And that represents everything that Jupiter loves, because he is the god of, or the planet of of generosity, of charity, of caring for the poor. He's the god of food and feasting, and he's the planet of food and feasting, and he's also the planet that rules international cross-cultural transmissions, right? Why? Because he's about the human family, the human race. So he wants all members of that family to meet each other, to come together and form bonds. And in the same vein, he rules education, right? Because if we're going to learn from people, we have to learn from people who know different things from us. We can't always learn that much from our family because we already know the same stuff as them, right? Like the Pilgrims already knew the same stuff as each other, but they didn't know the stuff the Indians know. So the Indians come in, they help them, they teach them, they feed them, they uplift them. That's really the ultimate story from a Jupiter perspective. So I mean, I think Thanksgiving, like I think I said, I would give it like a 9 out of 10 in terms of astrological perfection. But I do feel there are a few ways that it could really be improved. And the first way is, right now it's a little bit too like family centric, right? And Jupiter is not about our human family, or he's not about our nuclear family. He's not about our family tree. He doesn't really give a shit if someone is related to us. What he cares about is, are they a part of the human family? He cares about seeing everyone we meet as part of the human family and then feeling something in our heart for them, feeling a connection, feeling a responsibility. So I feel it would be like a little more Jupiterian if it was a Thanksgiving tradition to include people who aren't members of your family at your table. Because he really is about that expanded sense of belonging, because once again, he's about expanding your horizons. And if you're constantly interacting with the same people, there's going to come a point at which you sort of fall into a rut. They aren't really expanding your horizons anymore because you already have the same thoughts as them, you already know the same things as them, you already know the same people as them, so you're not really learning as much. You're just kind of repeating a comforting ritual, but that's really, comforting rituals like that are really more in the realm of the moon and not so much Jupiter. Jupiter wants things to be growing and expanding. So that's the first thing. I think like we should like invite people to our Thanksgiving table who are foreign to us in some sense, who they know things we don't know. Yeah, there should be like a cross-pollination happening. That would make it more Jupiterian. The second thing that I think should be changed is Jupiter is really about generosity and charity, because once again, it's the human family, and if a family member was like dying of starvation at the table, you would be feeding them, right? But from Jupiter's perspective, everyone's your family, and so if there's going to be a feast, it's important that all family members be fed, right? So I mean, I think obviously that already happens a lot at Thanksgiving, you know, like people feed poor people and stuff, but I mean, I think that aspect of Thanksgiving should be even more emphasized, like inviting people who are not as well off as you to your Thanksgiving table, because that's what the original Thanksgiving was about. I mean, think about the Pilgrims at the time. They must have seemed, at least in my imagination, right? They seemed really pathetic because they had a lifespan like of a few years for a long time. Their lifespan was very short. They're dying like flies. They don't know what they're doing, and the Indians are established. They come in and help them, and so they're kind of slumming, you know. But then eventually the Pilgrims figure out what they're doing. Fortunes shift. Later on, the Indians are in trouble. The point being that the wheels of fortune are constantly shifting, right? From an astrological perspective. You might think, oh, I'm here and this other person's here, but it won't always be the case. Astrology takes a long view on things, hundreds of years, thousands of years. The wheels of fortune will eventually turn, you know? So it's like that person that you might feel like smells a little bit when they're sitting at your table today, like in the future, they're going to be a king, you know? It's like, that's just the way it goes. So it's about realizing, Jupiter's about taking like a bird's eye perspective on things and realizing that. And so you're not just inviting them in as an act of charity, you're also inviting them in as an acknowledgement that they're a family member and that they are an important family member, because as time goes on, the wheels will turn and turn and turn, and everyone's position will shift. Okay, so that's the second thing, is like charity and generosity. And then the third thing, which is really it's kind of the same thing as the first point, is really about like cross-culturalism. Like this is not, it's the moon who rules like my family, my country. Jupiter is like, let's expand beyond that, let's learn from other people. So it should really be more of a cross-cultural celebration in a sense. Not necessarily like you need to eat with like chopsticks or anything like, it doesn't have to be some like cheesy like international thing, because it's not really about whether or not they're from a foreign country. It's really about if they're foreign to you in the sense that they're bringing in something new, like someone who's bringing in a dish you've never had before, right? Someone who is bringing in ideas to the table that you've never heard before. So, I mean, I guess this really goes back to the same thing as the first idea of expanding beyond your family, expanding beyond your culture and the people that you're used to really have it be a time of dining and mixing with people who seem foreign to you in whatever sense. And by doing so, expanding your sense of what a family is, expanding your sense of belonging, expanding your sense of your world, expanding like the feeling like of love and connection with humanity in general. So it's like, because think about it, Jupiter's all about growth, learning, and expansion. And the more you see everyone as your family, the more your world expands, the more you can learn, the more doors open, and hence you start to get lucky, right? Because that homeless person that you invite to dinner today, 100 years later, he's king and he's like giving you a basket of gold or something, you know, so you just got lucky. And so all of those things are really connected. Jupiter is all about like showing us an easier way of living, like a luckier way of living. And charity is really, really a part of that, because buy low, sell high, right? Be nice to people when they're down. One day they'll be up. And also just the buoyancy you feel from when you feel like truly connected to everyone, like you're truly part of the same family as everyone. It's just like uplifts your spirits, and then it makes you more buoyant, more optimistic, more Jupiterian. So those are my 3 ideas. I'm not sure if they're really 3, but those are my ideas on how Thanksgiving could be improved, and also my thoughts on why it's a great astrological holiday. Thank you. I'm Juliana Clei. Bye.